Okay, so here we go. The two chord shapes we're going to look at today are going to be kind of the open C. We'll just call it a C shape. Okay, and if you lift your index finger, that makes it a C major 7th. Because what you're doing is, in this case, that note is a C, but when you lift it, it drops it down to the 7th, which is that additional note you need for a C major 7th. Not that you need to know that musical theory, but C, C major 7th, okay? And you're really not hitting that low E when you're playing that C chord. So let's try to get used to playing that chord shape other places on the neck. And it's going to greatly add to your chord vocabulary. So if you kind of just do a mini bar here at the 2nd fret, almost like you're playing an A chord, okay, but your finger's kind of muffling that high E unless you really bend your finger. But you use that mini bar, and then you set your fingers to play that C chord shape. So, all right. At first, it might be a little hard to do, but you'll get that little that little bit of a stretch just with muscle memory after trying it. Okay. And again, you're really not playing that E note, especially when you're playing up the neck, because if it's a C back here, 2 frets up, this is going to be a D. Okay, and remember, we lift that B string, that 2nd string, and it turns it into a major 7th. Whoops, I hit the E. All right, so you have a D, D major 7th, and slide that up 2 frets. That's an E. And the cool thing about learning to play this kind of a major chord and major 7th chord is it gives you a lot more rhythmic control. When you're playing a C back here, everything's going to ring unless you mute it with your palm, okay? But if you're able to play that same chord shape, somewhere else along the fret, because I'm doing all the muting with my fingers. And I'm also using my thumb to kind of mute that low E so that doesn't muddy up the chord, especially if it's a chord that an E is not a part of. Okay. Now if you slide that D up 2 frets, now that's an E, so you can get away with that low E ringing. But again, if you're trying to have some rhythmic feel and control the volume, and that E is ringing, maybe that's what you want to do. But just as a general rule, I kind of use my thumb just to mute it, because that low, you have to understand that low bass note is generally carried by the bass player or a keyboard player, so you don't really need that to muddy things up. But that's really a good way to add, a different way to play a major chord and the major 7th. Whoops. Okay, so anywhere you want to play. If you're barring up at the 5th fret, that's an F. And you lift that, on the B string, lift that middle finger. And that's that F major 7th. So the major 7th, any of these songs you play that have a major 7th in it, now you have a lot easier way to play a major 7th. Okay? And you can, of course, use that major chord to substitute the way you normally play it. If you're playing a D like this, or if you're playing a D like this, or you're playing a D like this, now you can play it like this. So it has just a different timbre to it. So good luck. Work on getting those positions